Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Financial Advisors Workshop. This is the show where we interview financial advisors all across America, and we talk about how they run their business and get interesting ideas and how we all can learn from each other and them and run our own businesses better. And I think we're going to learn some things today. We have Frank, is it Levine or Levine?
Levine.
Frank Levine
When,
is
when
with
my income goes up, I'm going to change it to Levine, but right now,
Levine.
yeah,
Well, thank you,
Levine
Frank.
works.
Welcome to the Financial Advisors Workshop. And Frank, you're with Park Avenue Securities, which is part of Guardian, so you're insurance based originally,
Correct.
but you've got a really interesting practice. So, if you could just start out, tell us a little bit about your practice, and then we'll go into deep dive in certain areas of your practice.
Sure. Well, guys, I've been doing this. I'm new at this. I've been doing it 33 years. So
Cool.
I'm just getting my wings under me. But when I first got into the business 33 years ago, it was very product oriented. This product is better than that product, and how to move forward was to change product. And now I've been introduced to the LEAP system about 5 years in. And LEAP system is lifetime economic acceleration process, and that's helped me tremendously personally and professionally. We never talk about product any longer. It's always about process or strategy. How you work with money is paramount to the products that you own. And the example I like to give is if we have any golfers out there, I'm sure we have a few.
Yeah.
In a game of golf, when you're new to the game of golf, and if somebody hands you the best set of clubs money could buy, is that really going to help you in the game? And the answer is no. Okay, because you don't know how to work the club. But if someone took the time to teach you how to swing the club and gave you exercises to do and corrected you on every swing and built your swing, you're going to pick up the game of golf. You're going to learn the game of
Right.
golf. So in the game of golf, your swing is way more important than the clubs that you own.
Yeah.
And finance works very much the same way. How you work with money is paramount to the things you own. You can have the best stocks, the best bonds, the best real estate, the best insurances, the best of everything. That doesn't mean you're going to reach full financial potential. It just means you got a great set of clubs. So, and
Right.
if you don't know how to swing with them, you're not going to get to your full financial potential. So, I guess you could say I'm a swing instructor when it comes to finance. And we teach people what to do in proper order. Doing something good in the wrong order can also become a problem. But great example is like, let's say the 401k plan. Is the 401k plan a good thing? Yes. However, if you're doing a 401k plan before you have a cash reserve for emergencies or opportunities, it can become a problem.
Mhm.
So, there's what's good isn't necessarily good for you.
Mhm.
And we have to straighten a lot of people out. I mean, I have people who come to me, Brian, and say, I want to own more real estate, or I want
Mhm.
to expand my business. Okay, great. Then how come you're putting money into a 401k plan first, and that you can't touch that money for another 20 or 30 years? How's that
Mhm.
going to help you expand your business or own more real estate? Well,
Mhm.
I don't know. My accountant told me it was a good idea. My broker said it was a good idea. I said, yes, it is a good idea in general, but is it good for you if you want to expand your business or you want to own more real estate? So
Mhm.
these are decisions that these things are
Mhm.
put to the front of the line when they just need to be put further down the pecking order.
Mhm.
Because if you don't have a cash reserve, man, you can get in trouble real quick. And you need a cash reserve to own more real estate for the down
Mhm.
payment. You
Mhm.
also need a cash reserve to run your business and expand it.
Mhm.
And our industry is trying to help you, but at the same time, and the only way our industry can make money is with assets under management.
Mhm.
And let's face it, what puts assets under management for the longest period of time? A 401k plan or an IRA. So
Right.
we're taught internally by our wholesalers to put these things that keep money under management to the front of the line when
Mhm.
they probably should be pushed a little further back down the line because people don't, again, they don't have a proper cash reserve, and a cash reserve is what keeps you from liquidating stock at the wrong time. It puts you in a great position in the event of an emergency, and it readies you for any opportunity.
Yeah. So let's talk about those cash reserves. cash is paying 5% again, and for a while it's paying zero.
Mhm.
So certainly you could use institutional money funds, but I think you have some better ideas on how to do that, right?
Well, listen, if you're investing money and, you want in order for money to make money, it has to stay invested.
Hmm.
It has to stay there because once that money's put at risk, you wanna be able to, go through the ups and downs of the market. You certainly if you ever have to liquidate, the best time to liquidate obviously is when the stock market is up because you have to liquidate less shares to get the desired amount out. If you need if you wanna throw a party for your kid and it's gonna cost you $10,000 and
Hmm.
things are a dollar a share, you liquidate 10,000 shares.
Hmm.
But, if you're throwing that party and the pandemic hits and now things are 50 cents a share, now you have to liquidate 20,000 shares to get 10 grand out,
Right.
and it gets a little dicey, and that's when you see your portfolio go in the toilet. So a cash reserve prevents that from happening. Um, and a cash reserve, there's only so many places you can keep a cash reserve. It's the bank, your mattress, and what we like to use whole life insurance as part of a cash reserve. Whole life
Hmm.
insurance has been around since the beginning of time,
Right.
and it's a not it's money that is not at risk in the market, and it only goes in one direction up. You're basically
Right.
participating in the profits of a given company.
Hmm.
Um, and we prefer to use mutual companies like Guardian or Mass
Okay.
Mutual or
So,
things of that nature.
so we'll talk about that in a second, but that's interesting now. So using life insurance as a cash reserve, because then you could take
Part
out
of.
really, you need it, right? You could take a loan against it, and
Right.
who gets the interest if you pay interest on a loan?
The insurance company, and you want them to get the interest because
Okay.
remember, that's part of their profit center, and they're sharing profits with you in the form of dividends.
Okay.
So, what people don't understand with whole life insurance is when you borrow money from your policy, you're not borrowing your money. Your money is actually serving as collateral for that loan. So the
Okay.
money is still in the policy. It's still getting dividends, but a lien is on it by the insurance company, and they are giving you their money, and they're charging you accordingly.
Right.
So the true cost of that loan is what they're charging you minus what dividend you're getting. Now, dividends are not guaranteed, okay? They have the right not to give a dividend,
All
but
right.
the better mutual companies have never missed a dividend in their history, and these companies are almost 200 years old. So it's a pretty good track record, but I must tell you, dividends are not guaranteed. So the true cost is what you're paying in interest minus what you're getting in a dividend.
Okay.
All right.
So, all right. So instead of loading up a bunch of money in a money market, keep all the investable money invested, but then use life insurance as cash reserve, but you're getting some benefits for that cash as well,
For sure, for sure.
which
Now
is
you also what people also don't realize, Brian, is that all money is borrowed, whether you know it
right.
or there's a cost to everything. Either
Mhm.
you're paying someone for the privilege of borrowing money
Right.
in the form of interest, or you're
Right.
giving up the interest or growth you were getting by using your own money.
Right.
If you go to buy a car, for argument's sake, and you had money in a CD that's earning 5%, and you empty the CD and you buy the car.
Right.
Or is the bank still gonna pay you 5% on money that's not there? Of course not.
No.
You
Right.
walked away from a 5% CD to own that car outright.
Right.
Okay. Well, maybe you can borrow, you could have borrowed that money, for in a car loan at the same or less, and
Right.
you could have kept your money in the bank. The hardest thing is getting money in the bank, and then you have to do everything you can to keep it there. So what people don't realize, there's always a cost to moving money.
Mhm.
Either you're giving up the interest you're earning, or you're paying someone for the privilege. And if you use your Apple stock to buy that car, for argument's sake, and Apple goes up 10% that year,
Mhm.
you'd wish you would have taken that car loan.
Right.
So, money is fungible and there is a cost to every move that you make. And people complain about, oh, I got to borrow the money and it's a
Right.
loan. You're always borrowing from yourself because when you empty that CD or empty that bank account, what are you going to do? You're going to fill it
Right.
up, aren't you? Because
Right.
you have to fill it up again to buy the next car or go on your next vacation or whatever it may be.
So,
So, if you understand that there's a cost to every move that you make, you'll start to measure that and you'll make better decisions.
Great. Now you mentioned using whole life. Obviously, you can't use term for cash value because there's no cash value,
Correct.
right? Okay, so it's got to be whole life, and so that would be a strategy to build up cash reserves and then keep and all the money you have with your financial advisor should be invested in stocks, bonds, or whatever to get a better return, and not just sitting in cash. And then use the cash. The cash bucket is something that you get better benefits from in life insurance, and then more flexibility. Um,
Correct.
Now, you mentioned difference between a stock and a mutual company, and most insurance people probably understand this, but you prefer the mutual companies, and why?
Yeah. Well, mutual companies, whole life insurance has been around forever, and a lot of the companies that first did whole life insurance did change over to a stock company. And the only difference is with a stock company, they make decisions to please the stockholders, and therefore their policyholders are kind of in a second position. They don't make decisions to please them accordingly. With a mutual companies, there is no stock in mutual companies. The only way to participate in their profits is to buy a policy through them. So they make all of their decisions for the policyholders,
Mhm.
and they're under no pressure to perform quickly. They're always
Right.
looking out long term, so they tend to be more conservative and also very profitable, and these companies have been doing it forever. And they do a great job of it. So once again, that's why we prefer mutual companies when it comes to buying whole life insurance. That doesn't mean that stock companies don't have a good whole life insurance product. Just you're dealing with a different mindset. And if given the choice, I think a mutual company is a better choice if you're going to be buying whole life insurance.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Great. Now there's an old adage in the financial advisor side that you don't want to leave a whole lot of money sitting in a cash account, and then you also want to buy term and invest the difference. So what would you say about that?
Well, it's buying term and invest the differences. We can have arguments about that all day long. It's really where there are two different pots because we just talked about how important a cash reserve is. So to compare whole life insurance to uh, an investment portfolio is kind of ridiculous because you're comparing a risk vehicle to a non-risk vehicle.
Right.
And your risk vehicle, hopefully, you're going to do better over time. You can't tell me when that's going to happen. In other words, we can't tell you when you're going to do better, but time has told us that you do better. And in order to do better, you need a strong cash reserve. So, in other words, it's those the argument of buy term and invest the difference is outdated. That was the old days when it was the insurance companies versus the brokerage companies for your money. And
Right.
let's face it, money under management is how all of these companies survive. That is their profit center. So it was the insurance companies against the investment companies, and that's and how the investment companies survived was, hey, buy term invest the difference. You're going to have a bigger number,
Right.
uh, and which is really saying take risk and you might do better versus don't take any risk and you're going to have less. Well,
Mhm.
you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. In other words, in order for money to stay invested, you need a cash reserve. So this should be part of the cash reserve. And one of
Mhm.
the things that we teach people is there is just as much money or more, or possibly sometimes more money in the elimination of wealth eroding factors than there is in finding the right investment.
Mhm.
Okay. Everyone's looking for the next Apple, the next Microsoft, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Why not get rid of some guaranteed costs in your portfolio? If you could just eliminate tax, which is your biggest partner,
Mhm.
term life insurance, which is kind of like a tax. In other words, it's something to avoid if possible, but it's necessary. We need it because we love our families and we have to protect ourselves. But let's face it, with term insurance, the
Mhm.
insurance company keeps the money 98.4% of the time.
Mhm.
Pay out a death benefit of 1.6% of the time. So it's kind of a loss. Hopefully it's a loss.
Right.
So if you can avoid term insurance, you can avoid taxes, and if you can avoid even a management fee and avoid high interest debt throughout your life, you've done really good. So
Good.
the whole life policy does not have to make a lot of money to show off. If you actually took the time to measure the taxes you avoided, the term insurance you avoided, the management fee you avoided, and the high interest debt you've avoided during those high interest times, you've done pretty well for yourself.
Yeah.
And Wall Street has now I'm licensed, okay, has taught us not to discuss those things because it's not to our benefit if we're trying to get assets under management. But when
Right.
you're looking at an overall game plan, it's the combination of both a strong cash reserve and a well-balanced portfolio. And that well-balanced portfolio has to stay in play at
Mhm.
all times. And the cash reserve is what's going to save you when you need to use money when the market's not in your favor. And let's face it,
Mhm.
money is for use. Okay. It's not to look at. That's how you have fun. Um,
So
it's the combination of both. It's not whole life insurance or the market. It's whole life insurance and the market.
plus, yes,
It's not an or, it's an and conversation.
right. So let's say, Frank, we encounter a client who has that traditional thing where they've got a high yielding institutional money fund with 200 grand sitting there, and then they have like 3 or 4 million somewhere else. Should they leave that 200 grand there, or could they use that 200 grand to buy a whole, paid up whole life and still have the cash reserve?
Well,
Is that something they might
we
consider?
we like to recommend we like to see 50% of gross annual income not at risk as part of your cash reserve. So
50%. Okay.
if someone makes a $500,000 a year, it's nice to have $250,000 not at risk. And
Okay.
once again, that's either in bank accounts, whole life, or your mattress. I mean, those are pretty much your choices. I mean,
Okay.
you can buy bonds and treasuries or things of that nature, but let's face it, as interest rates go up, those prices do fluctuate, which renders them almost illiquid unless you want to take a loss. So
Right.
we want things in place that you can access without sustaining a loss, without doing any serious damage to the portfolio. So
Okay.
the cash reserve is pretty important. So when we set up people in investments, we're protection first, making sure that you're bulletproof in any scenario, whether you get sued or disabled or die,
Right.
have the proper wills. We want to make sure that's done. So we look at that first. Second, we look at how much you're saving. Are you saving at least 15% of your 15% of your gross annual income?
Mhm.
Assuming that's being taken care of, the next thing we like to see is have 50% of gross annual income in cash reserve. You make $1 million, it's nice to have 500,000 not at risk. And that is your foundation. And if you have a strong foundation, you can build a skyscraper off it. Now, everything that you invest over and above that will stay invested. So you get those long-term returns. And that is a well-built house, so to speak.
Nice. So I like that 50% of gross income, not at risk, in each year, and then 15% of gross income each year saving.
Yes. Rate
So,
of savings is more important than rate of return. We have been trained to everyone wants to put away 5% and hope to get 10% on your money.
mhm.
Okay. You're better off putting away 10% of your money and only getting 5%. You will wind up with more money over time. It's the active savings that um, we teach people, and a lot of the large investment companies don't do that, not because they don't want to, but let's face it, young people who are learning how to save do not have assets under management.
Right.
So it's not they don't want to talk to them because it's kind of a waste of time for them. They want to gain assets under management.
Right.
We tend to teach people how to save, and we like to have a strong cash reserve. Whole life insurance is part of that, and that positions them to be great investors down the road.
Right. That's really great. Well, these are all concepts that many regular financial advisors that do stocks, bonds, and financial planning really haven't thought through in some of those ways. So it's quite interesting. Really, really great ideas, Frank.
Thank you.
And then how do
It's
you
not that
help?
they just haven't been taught that. In other words, that's just not part of the culture,
Yeah.
and it is. You know, people are
Mhm.
dying to get started, and you have to know what to do in proper order.
Right.
And when you're helping people to create wealth, these are the tools that you need to get started.
Mhm.
And once again, if you have a strong foundation, you can be a great investor. down the road.
So if they can handle all the cash protections and things like you're suggesting is a first priority, then get into investing. Would you recommend maxing out in 401ks and IRAs as well?
If there's a match, certainly.
Yes.
Especially if you're an employee and you're getting someone else's money, you don't want to pass that up.
Sure.
However, if you're not getting matched, the 401k plan is really, it's gotten very interesting because first off, most people, and certainly successful people, will never see a lower tax bracket in your lifetime. So if you defer this to the future and you're successful, you're going to be annoyed because are there any indications that taxes will be lower in the future? Not really.
Probably not.
All indications are the taxes are probably going up. I mean, healthcare costs are going through the roof, and the government may have to step in on that. And guess who's going to pay for it? The taxpayer.
Right.
So taxes are, especially young people who are starting out in their careers, they're in the lowest tax bracket that they're ever going to see. So deferring taxes is kind of silly because if they're
Hmm.
going to be successful in the future and you're going to inherit whatever's left in your family, if there's any money there. So that lower tax bracket is pretty elusive. So
Hmm.
that's an illusion that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. We recommend to our high-end clients on Wall Street, where these are kids are making seven figures, we tell them to max out the Roth 401k option. That way, only the match goes inside the 401k portion. That's just an interesting concept there. We depending upon your scenario. So the 401k probably will not yield a lower tax bracket in the future.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you're aware of the new tax laws that if if you don't enjoy that money together with your spouse, your children have to empty that account within 10 years. I don't know if
I
you're aware.
see.
The days of the stretch IRA are gone. There was a time where you can take required minimum distributions over your lifetime, and that money would go from generation to generation. Well, the government needs money, and they saw to it that that's over with.
Right.
So now when your kids inherit that money, they've got 10 years to empty the account. They don't have to
Right.
spend the money. They just have to remove it from the account, pay the
Wait.
tax because
Right.
that's what the government wants,
Right.
and reinvest it, after the taxes have been paid.
Right.
So it is the weakest vehicle to pass to the next generation. So the 401 IRAs and 401k plans are less desirable today than they once were. Because I can't tell you how many clients say to me, "Yeah, I'm going to leave that money to my kids." Are you aware that they have to empty it in 10 years? No, I didn't know that because it's fairly recent that
Right.
they added
Used to
that
be.
law.
Used to be 5 years.
Well, I don't know about that. It used to be that you can do stretch IRA, which means you can stretch it out over your entire lifetime.
Mhm.
So those days are gone.
Mhm.
And so the 401k plan is if you're getting a match, you want to participate. If you're not getting a match, you really want to think twice. Once again, if you want to expand your business or you want to own more real estate, you're putting money out of reach until 59 and a half.
Right.
And if you're in your 40s, that's a long time from now. If you're in your 30s, it's a really long time from now. So, I speak to people say, I want to buy real estate. I want to expand my business. Well, why are you putting money in a place you can't touch? And, that's where conflicting information, the people that told you to do that really want to help you. They're not trying to hurt you, but they're not thinking it through.
So,
Investment companies don't care that you want to own real estate because they can't get a management fee off that.
so if people decide that maybe the 401k IRA route isn't as good as it was,
Mm.
what would be a good alternative?
Well, it's the first thing you want to make sure is you have a strong cash reserve. You want to
Mhm.
get to that 50% of gross annual income. So start loading it in the bank and possibly start, and if you may want to take a portion of that money and start yourself a whole life insurance contract so that you have an additional place to keep your cash reserve because the cash value of those policies will also be liquid um, to in the form of a loan to save you from liquidating stocks at the wrong time. It'll
Okay.
help. It'll help keep that CD in place until maturity, as opposed to breaking the CD earlier.
Mhm.
So you want to take a portion of that, and include whole life insurance if you're fortunate enough to be healthy enough to get it.
Right.
You
Okay.
know, and that's where we try to start the young guys in that because the younger you is, it's an age-based vehicle. So we try to get them in early while they're young and healthy,
Sure.
and um, it enforces a strong savings habit, and it's there for emergencies. It's there for opportunities. Yada yada yada.
That's great. And then what other kinds of investments then would they do after you've got the cash reserve? Maybe you do IRAs, but maybe you do other things. So what do you do
Well,
for your?
it's we try to we try to avoid jail cells for money like IRAs, 401ks, even 529 plans for children's education. These things are good things, but they're not great for business owners who want to expand their business. They're not good for people who want to get involved with real estate. So we try to keep things liquid and available because money is made when opportunity meets liquidity, and you do want to be ready for that throughout life. Now, there are people who are not entrepreneurial and just want to keep their head down and just work, and it's not for them. So IRAs and 401k plans might be appropriate there.
Okay.
Um, and as far as investing, well, look, it's just proper asset allocation,
Mhm.
uh, which is always uh, necessary.
Mhm.
That doesn't change, but once again, if you have proper asset allocation and you don't have enough liquidity, you're gonna be dipping into that money
Mhm.
and possibly at the wrong time and destroying the growth. And we're all looking for that hockey stick of, on the exponential curve, and you don't get that unless the money stays invested. So once again, we're big on the cash reserve, but once you have that, you're in a position to invest, and there's tons of great companies out there that do a great job asset allocation wise. There's very few people who choose individual stocks these days. They're out there, but you have to have enough money to get their attention. So not everyone can work with folks like that. So for the average Joe who's going to be investing, you want it professionally managed, like a BlackRock or something along those lines. That uh, this is all they do is invest, and
Mhm.
that money that goes to them should stay invested for as long as possible, and you strategically take that money when the time is right.
So Frank, for your practice, then how do you invest? Do you handle it with BlackRock and other modeled portfolios, and you do it through Park Avenue? But how do you do it?
I do it. It's funny. I do it through Park Avenue with model portfolios, yes, but I also have money outside of that because I was working with people before I was in the industry, and I really don't have time. Truthfully, this is a good problem. I don't have time to look at my money.
Mhm.
So I need professional, I'm busy helping other people. So I don't have the time to look at it. So I do have accounts outside of that. But yeah, everything is professionally managed. It has to be, guys. Unless it's a passion of yours and you're really good at it, let somebody else do the investing for you. They don't even know your name. They don't want to know your name. They're just there to make money for the funds, and they do a great job of it. And you know, you,
Mhm.
you don't want it. You don't it's do-it-yourselfers. Very few of them are good.
Yeah.
There are people that do a great job, but they're few and far between.
What do you think of the markets now, considering where we are in the economy and everything? What are your view of the financial market?
Yeah, this is my personal opinion. We've had an unprecedented run. We're at the all-time highs, pretty much.
Mhm.
So look, it's not a question of if; it's a question of when we're going to get a correction.
Mhm.
It's history tells us that it happens all the time, and
Mhm.
we could just like and what's scary is just like we've had a historical run, we can also have a historical decline. And once again, if you've got a strong cash reserve, you're not as concerned about that because
Mhm.
you're prepared to ride it out.
Mhm.
So yeah, we hope for the best, but you have to plan for the worst.
Yes.
Worst.
Yes.
So once again, that cash reserve is going to save you behind. If and when that not if, it- when it happens, and it's going to
Mhm.
happen.
Great.
I've had some clients that tell great stories. That they had to liquidate their 529 plan in 2009 after they got crushed in 2008. They wound up taking less than what they put into the 529 plan. So timing of when you get the money is key. And you just want to make sure you're not subject to sequence of return risk in those scenarios. And if you needed money right after the pandemic, man, and your accounts were down 40%, you got nailed because you had to liquidate at that given time. So once again, the cash reserve is there. So it's coming. It's just a question of when. And if you got a strong cash reserve between the banks, your mattress, and whole life insurance, you're going to use that money wisely to get you through those difficult times. And you will not liquidate in a panic. And history tells us that it's rebound, not guaranteed, but it's rebound. It has rebound in the past, and we hope that that continues.
Okay,
And
great. Well, Frank, this is very instructive and very different than many of our financial advisors. So we're learning a lot here about cash reserves and using life insurance and just a different view of things. And, and it might be very instructive for a lot of our advisors. So
thank
we're pretty much at the end of our discussion today. You basically have the floor. About 300 financial advisors will see this in the near term, and about 1,000 over the next year. So, is there any other message you'd like to give everybody as we close today?
No, well, like, look, we are in a great industry. We help people. It's fun. We get, at least I do, and I'm sure you guys out there as well. The
Yeah,
emotional paychecks are better than the actual paychecks. When you help someone reach their full financial potential and make them feel good about their finances, there's nothing like it. Just don't be do the right thing. There was just when I see someone's that has a well put together plan, I tip my hat and say, "Wow, you've got some good instruction here. You sure you want to come and join me? Unless you
mhm.
hate this guy, but you may hate this guy, but he did a good job." So I'll still work with that. So don't be afraid to compliment someone else's work. I hate it when you meet people and they say that whatever you have is wrong and you have to change everything over. Don't be that guy. That is a black eye to our industry.
Yeah,
And be complimentary when someone does a good job, and move on to the next, or pick them up. So just
exactly.
do the right thing. That's all I can.
Great,
That's my message to our industry.
uh,
Yeah,
great mature advice. We appreciate that. Well,
yeah.
great. Well,
Contribute to our industry. Don't detract from it.
exactly. That's really awesome. Well, thank you, Frank. Thanks for being with us today on the Financial Advisors Workshop.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks everybody for being with us. And we'll be back again with another episode very shortly with another great, very intriguing, like Frank's ideas today. We find out some really interesting things from these interviews. And thanks everybody for being with us. Over and out for today. Bye bye.